All right, let's talk about calcium. Now, when it comes to calcium, there are some things that are really important to know, especially if you're considering supplementing. You may have even heard before that it's a really bad idea to supplement with calcium because it leads to kind of plaquing in your arteries and buildup on your organs. And that is actually true under general circumstances. But you need to understand the difference between the types of calcium out there. And for the purposes of this video, there are two types of calcium. There's calcium bicarbonate or ionizable calcium, and then there's calcium carbonate. So bicarbonate versus carbonate. And that little difference there, the bicarbonate, makes it a lot more active and interactive in your body. So when you get the typical type, which is the calcium carbonate, that's what comes in most calcium supplements. While it can help with pH levels in your body, it has some bad side effects like that plaquing effect or the kind of the buildup that can result because it's inert, meaning that it doesn't really interact with other chemicals and it just sort of settles, right? And it sediments into your system. Bicarbonate, on the other hand, can be very well used by different parts of your body, and that is what can make it extremely beneficial. So, for example, one of the really important uses of calcium in your body is for your immune system. But in order for your immune system to have access to this calcium, it needs to first be pulled out of your gut into your bloodstream and then out of your bloodstream into your tissues. So the way that calcium gets pulled out of your gut and into your bloodstream is through vitamin D. And I'm sure you've heard about all the awesome benefits of vitamin D. At least some of these benefits are because of how it interacts with calcium. If you don't have enough vitamin D, then basically all that calcium goes straight through you and cannot be used by your body, which means your immune system can't have access to it, which means you get sick a lot more, right? You have a weakened immune system. So vitamin D helps pull that into your bloodstream, which is half of the process. But the part that people tend not to really talk about is that we have to also get it from the bloodstream into the tissues. And the way that we do that is with linolenic acid, linoleic acid, and arachidonic acid. These are essential fatty acids that you can get most abundantly from butter, preferably organic grass-fed butter, which is going to be the best source of those things. But those fatty acids are responsible for pulling the calcium from your bloodstream into your tissues where they are most needed. So if you can imagine a system that gets imbalanced with way too much vitamin D and not enough of these essential fatty acids, in particular linoleic, and arachidonic acid, you're going to get sick in some of the same ways you would expect with low vitamin D. And that's because the calcium is essentially being trapped in the bloodstream. And some examples of this are when people spend a lot of time out in the sun, they produce a ton of vitamin D, and it's not uncommon for people to get the sun blisters as a result of that. And while there are different theories about what exactly is going on there, one that makes a lot of sense under this system is that if you've got a lingering virus like a herpes virus 1, right, HPV 1, that's just kind of sitting in there opportunistically waiting for its chance to come out, and then you get a whole bunch of vitamin D from being out in the sun, and all of your calcium gets trapped in your bloodstream, can't make it to the tissues, bam, you get an outbreak, right? And how many people out there have experienced this multiple times? I actually am one that has that happen. So you need those essential fatty acids to finish the process. But going back to the calcium itself and that bicarbonate versus carbonate, you cannot just take a bunch of calcium supplement, eat a bunch of butter, and take some vitamin D and expect everything to be okay, because if you're taking that calcium carbonate, the inert form of it, then it's not going to make a difference whether you're getting the vitamin D, whether you're getting the essential fatty acids. Also, by the way, sometimes known as vitamin F, although that was a long time ago when they actually called it that. They've stopped doing that decades ago. But The calcium carbonate is just not going to be useful that way because it cannot be pulled around the same way, right? It just sediments into your system and cakes everything in calcium, which then causes you to get sick. So you need one of a few different really good sources of calcium bicarbonate. My favorite, if you have access to it, is untreated spring water. It is full of it, and that's why the spring water leaves that white film on everything. We hate it. We use water softeners to get rid of it, but it is incredibly beneficial for our systems because it provides us that usable form of calcium throughout our bodies. Another potentially good source of it is milk, but only if it's raw milk. So if it's been pasteurized, then it's no good. It's not going to have abundant sources of ionizable calcium bicarbonate. So only raw milk, which means if you don't have access to raw milk, it's probably not going to be a good option for you. And for some people, even if you do have access to raw milk, if your system just cannot handle dairy, then not a good option for you. So a third option is supplementation, but it has to be a specific kind of supplement. And the one that we like to use at Provo Health at our clinic is calcium lactate. It comes from Standard Process, but it is an ionizable form of calcium, which means that it's going to work really well in combination with the vitamin D, with the vitamin F or the essential fatty acids. And you can also get the vitamin F as a supplement, or you can just get it from that organic grass-fed butter, which is a lot more tasty, in my opinion. Or, you can get linolenic, linoleic, and arachidonic acid from other food sources or supplement sources as well. But you want to make sure that it is a usable form of calcium. So my recommendation is calcium lactate. And hopefully this kind of clears up the whole calcium thing for you and why you've heard so many bad things about calcium supplements, but why potentially supplementing with calcium can be extremely beneficial. Just to give you another example of why you'd want this, my favorite kind of winter sickness protocol when someone starts coming down with a cold or flu is whole food vitamin C, that vitamin F from essential fatty acids, and calcium lactate or good ionizable calcium. That combination is going to be extremely powerful for your immune system. All right, bye.